Hi, my name's Emily Largent. I'm a faculty member at the University of Pennsylvania, and I'm the leader of the Ethics and Policy Core of Penn AI Tech. In that role, I'm often involved in advising researchers on the design and conduct of their studies. And so today I'll be talking a bit about ethical human subjects research. If you're going to interact with or collect data from individuals as part of understanding your technology, you'll be conducting human subjects research. Now, when you design and conduct studies, whether implicitly or explicitly, you're going to need to make a number of ethical judgments. So my goal today is to walk through 7 factors that make human subjects research ethical. First, we want to make sure that research is socially valuable. That means that we ask an important question about understanding health or illness, finding interventions that might help to treat, prevent, or cure diseases, or that improve well-being for older adults. Second, it's important that our study has scientific validity. What that means is that the research is designed in a methodologically rigorous way so that you can answer that socially valuable question that you asked as part of designing a socially valuable study. There are many things that we need to think about when we're designing studies, but I want to highlight 2 considerations. First, it's important that you validate your technology in diverse populations. Failure to include diverse populations can actually perpetuate health disparities or keep us from being able to give generalizable information that can inform the care and treatment of all individuals. The other thing we need to do is account for how the technology itself might actually change what's being measured. There are various ways this can happen. One I'll highlight is that if we have devices that conduct, say, cognitive testing using digital technologies, we can't simply take pencil and paper norms and assume that those work equally well when we're in the digital space. So you'll need to make sure you're going through those steps. It's possible, too, that we can have practice effects. So if somebody's taking a cognitive test over and over in the process of using their digital technology, we might actually see improvements in their test scores that could obscure worsening of a condition or otherwise limit us from understanding what's happening. And it's possible that you can design a study that has stereotype threat. So many diseases that older adults face are associated with stigma. And when people understand that others have negative views about people who have their condition or illness, they can sometimes internalize that, and it actually changes how they perform on tests. So there are many examples where technologies inadvertently introduced stereotype threat and people performed worse than they might have otherwise because that threat was part of the design. So when you're designing your study, make sure that you're taking into account not just strong research principles, but also that you've addressed these aspects of bias that might be in your technology itself. A third consideration is fair subject selection. What that means is that the scientific goals of the study should determine who's enrolled in it, rather than other considerations like privilege, convenience, or vulnerability. It's important that we don't overprotect individuals, though, lest we create therapeutic orphans, people for whom we just don't have research. So make sure you're selecting your subjects thoughtfully, but be aware that it is possible to enroll older adults who are vulnerable along dimensions like living in a long-term care home or having cognitive impairment. The fourth consideration is a favorable risk-benefit ratio. We want to make sure that the benefits of your device and participation in research are maximized and that the risks of participating in research are minimized. Now, importantly, saying that the risks are minimized is not the same thing as saying that the research itself is minimal risk. Minimal risk is a regulatory category, and you can work with an institutional review board to understand if your study is minimal risk. When we're thinking about the risks of research, we want to make sure that we're thinking not just about physical or psychological risks. For example, you might think about the adhesive on a digital device. We also want to make sure we're thinking about social and economic risks which can arise in the course of research participation. A fifth requirement is independent review. Typically, before research begins, an investigator is going to need to write up a protocol that outlines what they're going to do, what subjects they're going to use in their study, and what they expect to find. Then this protocol is submitted to an external body that can look at the research and make sure that it complies with ethical and regulatory standards. This review body might be called an institutional review board or a research ethics committee. These committees are comprised of diverse individuals who are able to look at the study and offer their feedback to the investigator. They might, as a result of their review, approve the study, ask for modifications, or say that the study can't go forward. Independent review is important because it helps overcome researchers' inherent conflicts in conducting research and also promotes public trust in research. A sixth requirement of ethical research is that individuals give voluntary informed consent. The informed consent process, and it really is a process, not just a form that people sign, is intended to give people information about the study so they can decide for themselves if participation is consistent with their values and interests. There may be special considerations related to informed consent if you're conducting research with older adults. One thing to have at the forefront of your mind is whether or not participants have capacity to consent to research participation. Individuals who have a diagnosis like Alzheimer's disease or related dementia may have impaired decisional capacity, but the diagnosis itself is not determinative, and you'll need a plan to assess capacity. If an individual lacks capacity, it's important that you identify an appropriate surrogate decision maker who can make a decision about research participation on the individual's behalf. Importantly, though, you don't want to exclude the older adult from decision-making. Individuals with even mild to moderate dementia may still have the ability to communicate preferences that are relevant to the decision to participate in research or not, and you should listen to those. Finally, we've arrived at the 7th feature of ethical research, demonstrating respect for subjects. It's a broad category that includes considerations such as monitoring well-being of participants and protecting the privacy of their data. It's a broad category, but really what it's asking is that you treat participants with integrity and act in ways that look out for their best interests. Ultimately, the idea of good research can't be divorced from the idea of ethical research. My hope is that discussing these 7 features of ethical research will help you when you're designing and conducting your own studies. And if this is a topic you're interested in learning more about, I hope you'll go to the Penn AI Tech website for more information. Thank you so much for watching.